Most people think the top tier succeed because of luck, talent, or connections. That's wrong. The real gap isn't in what they have, it's in how they think. This isn't about positive thinking or empty motivation. It's about specific cognitive shifts that rewire how you see the world, make decisions, and act on opportunities. These shifts aren't reserved for geniuses or heirs. They're learnable, and they change everything. Let's start with the first and most foundational shift. They separate facts from stories. Every day, you're bombarded with information, but you're not just processing facts, you're creating stories around them. Someone says no to your idea, and you tell yourself you're not good enough. A project fails, and you decide you're a failure. The top tier doesn't do this. They look at what's actually happening, not the narrative their brain invents. For example, a struggling entrepreneur pitches a product and gets rejected 10 times. Most people stop, telling themselves the product is bad or they're not cut out for business. The top tier looks at the facts: 10 rejections, no clear feedback on why. They don't make it about their self-worth. They ask what's missing. Maybe the pitch is unclear. Maybe the audience is wrong. Maybe the timing isn't right. They adjust and pitch again. Facts are non-negotiable. Stories are optional. The top tier chooses to let go of stories that hold them back. This isn't about being cold or unemotional. It's about clarity. Emotions matter, but they don't dictate reality. When you confuse your story with facts, you make decisions based on fear, pride, or self-doubt. The top tier uses emotions as data, not directives. They feel disappointment when things go wrong, but they don't let that feeling turn into a story that stops them. Second cognitive shift: they focus on systems, not goals. Goals are useful for direction, but they're useless for progress. Most people fixate on a goal. I want to make more money. I want to get in shape. I want to start a business, and then get discouraged when they don't hit it right away. The top tier doesn't care as much about the goal as they do about the system that gets them there. A goal is a destination. A system is the path you take every day to get there. If your goal is to write a book, the system is writing 500 words every morning. If your goal is to build a profitable business, the system is reaching out to 5 potential clients every day. Goals can fail. You might miss a deadline, or the market might change. But systems are reliable. They compound over time. The top tier knows that consistent action, not grand goals, is what creates lasting success. Here's the key: goals are about what you want to achieve. Systems are about who you want to become. When you focus on systems, you're not just chasing a result, you're building a habit, a skill, an identity. Someone who writes 500 words every morning isn't just trying to finish a book, they're becoming a writer. Someone who reaches out to 5 clients every day isn't just trying to make sales, they're becoming an entrepreneur. That identity shift is what makes the system stick, and that's what the top tier masters. Third shift: they embrace failure as feedback, not judgment. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. Most people fear failure because they see it as a reflection of their worth. They think if they fail, they're a failure. The top tier sees failure as information. It tells them what's not working, so they can adjust and try again. Take Thomas Edison. He didn't fail 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. He learned 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's the mindset. Every failure is a data point. It's not a judgment, it's feedback. The top tier doesn't avoid failure, they seek it. They take calculated risks because they know that the more they fail, the more they learn, and the closer they get to what works. This doesn't mean they're reckless. They don't take stupid risks. They take risks where the downside is manageable and the upside is meaningful. And when those risks don't pay off, they don't wallow. They ask, what did I learn? What can I change? How can I do better next time? That's the difference. Failure is not a stop sign, it's a detour sign, and the top tier knows how to read it. Fourth cognitive shift: they think in terms of abundance, not scarcity. Scarcity thinking is when you believe there's not enough money, enough opportunities, enough success. You hoard what you have. You compete fiercely with others. You fear losing what you've got. Abundance thinking is when you believe there's more than enough for everyone. You share opportunities. You collaborate. You focus on creating more rather than hoarding what's already there. Most people operate from scarcity. They see someone else's success as their loss. If a friend gets a promotion, they feel jealous. If a competitor succeeds, they feel threatened. The top tier sees someone else's success as proof that success is possible. They learn from it. They collaborate with it. They use it to fuel their own growth. They don't see the pie as fixed, they see it as something they can expand. Abundance thinking isn't about being naive. It's about being strategic. When you operate from abundance, you're more likely to take risks, because you know that even if this opportunity doesn't work out, another one will come. You're more likely to help others, because you know that kindness and collaboration come back to you. The top tier doesn't just want to succeed, they want others to succeed too, because they know that a rising tide lifts all boats. Fifth shift, they take responsibility for everything in their lives, not in a blame the victim way, but in an empowering way. Most people blame external factors for their struggles, their upbringing, their boss, the economy, bad luck. They see themselves as victims of circumstance. The top tier sees themselves as the creators of their circumstance. They know that while they can't control everything, they can control how they respond to everything. If you're stuck in a dead-end job, you can blame your boss or the job market, or you can take responsibility for learning new skills, networking, or starting your own business. If your relationships are strained, you can blame the other person, or you can take responsibility for your part in the conflict and work to fix it. The top tier doesn't make excuses. They make choices. They know that their life is a result of their decisions, not their circumstances. This doesn't mean they ignore systemic barriers or unfairness. It means they don't let those barriers define them. They find a way around them, over them, or through them. They don't wait for someone else to fix their problems, they fix them themselves. That's the power of responsibility. It turns you from a passenger in your life to the driver. Sixth shift, they prioritize long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Instant gratification is the enemy of success. Most people choose what feels good now over what will feel good later. They eat the junk food instead of cooking a healthy meal. They scroll social media instead of working on their goals. They spend money they don't have on things they don't need to feel good in the moment. The top tier does the opposite. They delay gratification because they know that the pain of discipline now is worth the pleasure of success later. They wake up early to work on their business instead of sleeping in. They save money instead of spending it. They say no to distractions so they can focus on what matters. This isn't about being miserable, it's about being intentional. They know that every choice they make now shapes their future. The top tier doesn't sacrifice joy, they just choose joy that lasts. They understand that short-term pleasure fades, but long-term success brings lasting fulfillment. They don't deprive themselves, they invest in themselves. Every time they choose discipline over distraction, they're building strength, resilience, and momentum. That momentum is what separates them from everyone else. Seventh shift, they seek discomfort, not comfort. Comfort is where growth dies. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They stay in dead-end jobs because they're familiar. They avoid difficult conversations because they're awkward. They don't learn new skills because it's hard. The top tier actively seeks discomfort. They know that growth happens outside of their comfort zone. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. If you're growing, you're going to feel uncomfortable. The top tier embraces that discomfort. They take on projects that scare them. They learn skills that challenge them. They have conversations that push them. They know that discomfort is a sign they're moving forward, not a sign they're doing something wrong. This doesn't mean they seek pain for pain's sake. They seek discomfort that leads to growth. They don't jump into something reckless, they stretch themselves just enough to grow, but not so much that they break. They build their tolerance for discomfort over time, and that tolerance becomes their superpower. The more comfortable they are with being uncomfortable, the more they can achieve. Now, let's be clear, these cognitive shifts aren't easy. They require practice, patience, and self-awareness. You're not going to rewire your brain overnight. But every time you catch yourself thinking in scarcity, every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you see failure as feedback instead of judgment, you're moving closer to that top-tier thinking. The difference between the top tier and everyone else isn't luck or talent. It's how they think. They don't see the world differently because they're successful because they see the world differently. These cognitive shifts change how you make decisions, how you handle setbacks, how you pursue your goals. They change everything. So here's your challenge: pick one shift. Just one. Start practicing it tomorrow. If it's separating facts from stories, catch yourself when you're making up a narrative and ask, what's the fact here? If it's focusing on systems, pick a small daily action that aligns with your goal and stick to it. If it's embracing failure, take a small risk and see it as feedback, not judgment. Don't try to change everything at once. Focus on one shift, master it, then move to the next. Over time, these small changes will compound, and you'll start thinking like the top tier. And when you do, you'll see opportunities you never saw before. You'll make decisions with clarity and confidence. You'll achieve things you never thought possible. Now, I want to hear from you. Which cognitive shift are you going to practice first? Drop it in the comments below. And if you found this video valuable, hit the subscribe button. I'm here to help you master these shifts, break through your limits, and build the life you want. Don't miss the next video. Subscribe now, and let's grow together.